Hello everyone, my name is Rose Power and I am the EU Projects Officer for the Southern Regional Assembly here in Ireland. Thank you for the opportunity today to share with you one of our amazing Interreg Europe projects, MatchUp. MatchUp is a sustainable mobility project, and today I will use this project as an example of how engagement with the EU can strengthen local communities. The MatchUp project is an Interreg Europe low carbon project with 5 partners. Our lead partner is the University of Bologna in Italy. The Southern Regional Assembly represents Ireland, and we have partners from Germany, Portugal, and Romania. The objective of the project is to foster low carbon transport to assist in reducing air pollution, emissions, and traffic congestion. And this is done by two-way learning and sharing of good practices with other European regions, so that we can learn from one another and create a regional action plan to improve policies here in Ireland. This all seems a little removed from the benefits for local communities. However, it is through the activities of the project that real benefits are achieved at a local level. As MatchUp is a sustainable transport project, we undertook a number of activities during European Mobility Week in 2019 and 2020. With the assistance of Cork City Council, we organised the Race Against Rob Heffernan, the Olympian and world champion walker in Cork City, where members of the public used a minimum of 2 or more modes of sustainable transport to see if they could beat our world champion walker. They could walk, cycle, or use public transport in order to provide a showcase at the ease of which you could travel around Cork City using sustainable transport, and also to highlight the improvements they have already achieved, including new segregated cycle paths, bus lanes, and the Mary Elms pedestrian and cycle bridge, which was part funded by European grants. Following this event, we had an informational meeting in Cork City Library for all members of the public to highlight for them the transport plans for Cork City and provide updates on bike sharing, environmental issues, and we invited an expert from Holland to speak about smart cycling initiatives that could be utilised in Cork City. As a result of these events and others undertaken in Cork, Cork City Council was the first local authority in Ireland to qualify for entry into the European Mobility Awards. In 2020, we decided to concentrate on one of the voices that is not normally heard at senior planning, policy and decision-making levels, our youth. We organised an event called The Voice, joining the conversation on sustainable transport in Waterford. All presenters at the event were primary, secondary or third level students, and they were afforded the opportunity to put forward ideas, difficulties and solutions to improve sustainable transport in Waterford City. They also had the opportunity to directly question a panel of decision and policy makers from the Department of Transport, the Department of Education, Waterford City and County Council, the Southern Regional Assembly, the National Transport Authority and Transport Infrastructure Ireland. I will now show you a short video as an example of one of these events, the Race Against Rob.
As part of European Mobility Week, the Transport Mobility Forum and MatchUp have come together where we're having a race against Rob Heffernan from Kent Station, promoting low carbon modes of transport, the bus, walking and cycling. Kent Station is the perfect location as it's a major multimodal transport hub where we're connecting rail, bus, cycling and walking all around Cork City.
The reason you're all here this morning is for the European Mobility Week and Race Against Rob. You're standing here in Kent train station. This is going to be a regional hub for transport in Cork City driving forward. We're a growing city, so by the year 2040 we'll be one of the fastest growing cities in Northern Europe. And one of the key, I suppose, aims of Cork City Council is to increase and enhance the public realm of cycle lanes, bus lanes and a kind of a greener form of transport for the city.
I am delighted to represent the Southern Regional Assembly. today at Matchups Race Against Bob during European Mobility Week. This is an opportunity for Cork City to raise awareness of the significant improvements we have made in improving low-carbon modal interchange. In particular, I am proud that the event is taking the opportunity to travel over the new Mary Elms Bridge. The Southern Regional Assembly has been involved in delivering this new pedestrian and cycle bridge for the people of Cork.
The race against Rob this morning was a fantastic opportunity to showcase some of the infrastructure that we have provided in Cork so far for sustainable travel, that is walking and cycling. This was the ideal opportunity to show the interconnectivity between all of these different modes of transport.
So as I mentioned before, Interreg Europe is a two-way learning opportunity, and our learning assisted us in developing a 10-minute city and town framework, which I will talk about later. But it also gave us the opportunity to showcase what Ireland is doing that other regions of Europe could learn from. We invited our partners in the Matchup project to Ireland to showcase a number of good practices, including the cycle and ride infrastructure associated with the Luas Light Rail, An Taisce Green Schools programme, Local Link Rural Transport programme, and the Cork Transport Mobility Forum. The feedback from the partners led to all of these good practices being published on the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform, so that other regions in Europe could benefit from these good practices. In addition, two further good practices from Ireland, Limerick Smarter Travel Workplace Travel programme and the Race Against Rob, were also published on the platform. So in total, 6 good practices were published by Interreg Europe so that other regions in Europe could learn for what we are doing really well here in Ireland. To date, we are aware that these good practices have inspired changes in policies in 3 other European regions. I will now show you a short video of the visit by the Matchup European partners to Ireland, showcasing some of these good practices. Throughout the implementation of this project, I've mentioned learning, and this is achieved at all levels. And of particular benefit is learning done by the stakeholders here in Ireland that were involved in the Matchup project, but also the staff of the Southern Regional Assembly. By building our capacity, we can utilise this knowledge to ensure that we direct, improve, and deliver policies that can have a real impact and benefit at the local level here in Ireland. So how does this translate into benefits for local communities? Well, each region involved produces a regional action plan, specifying what will be done in the region to ensure that the lessons learned for the cooperation project are put into action. In Ireland, we targeted the implementation of compact growth as outlined in our Regional Spatial and Economic Strategy, and in particular, Regional Policy Objective 176, the 10-minute cities and towns. The result was to develop a regional action plan to develop a 10-minute cities and town framework and methodology for the southern region, which we undertook in conjunction with Arup Transport Consultants. So what is a 10-minute city or town? It's a city or town that ensures access for all citizens to essential services within a 10-minute walk, cycle, or public transport connection from their homes. These essential services include healthcare, education, employment, recreation, green spaces, and retail. And it promotes an ecosystem of accessible, active, and sustainable travel and public transport networks to enable journeys for key services by sustainable modes. The 10-minute cities and town framework and methodology is a resource and toolkit to support all of our local authorities to map their towns and cities and identify infrastructure improvements required to create a 10-minute city or town. This is then incorporated into each of their local development plans and local transport plans and provides an evidence base to ensure funding for active and sustainable travel modes. The 10-minute city or town's objective will assist compact growth and will reduce air pollution, emissions, and traffic congestion. It embeds sustainable mobility strategies into our policy instruments, while encouraging a more active lifestyle, improving placemaking and quality of life for all our citizens. So what next? In order to implement the sustainable mobility objectives and the uptake of the 10-minute cities and town framework, we've joined with the Department of Transport, the National Transport Authority, Transport Infrastructure Ireland, and the Office of the Planning Regulator to create a regional learning event in the southern region for all of our local authorities and transport stakeholders, which will be held on the 31st of January 2022. This event will also include the launch of a number of national policies, including the National Sustainable Mobility Policy, the National Investment Framework for Transport in Ireland, and the new area-based transport assessment guidelines. Bringing together and disseminating these policies, potential funding streams in a focused way under the theme of sustainable mobility in the southern region will allow local authorities to map their cities and towns, adopt a strategy for a 10-minute city or town, and provide the evidence required to secure funding to implement the changes identified. This will lead to easier access to essential services, cleaner air, and more accessible and sustainable transport for all citizens to improve quality of life for everyone. In fact, this regional event is likely to be replicated by the Department of Transport in other regions in Ireland. And following the regional learning event, there will be an opportunity for a more focused learning training workshops at a local authority level to look at case studies, explore good practices, and learn from experience in more detail on how to go about implementing the 10-minute city and town framework, their local transport plans, preparation, and the use of the area-based transport assessment methodology. I have included in these slides links to the Regional Spatial and Economic Strategy, the 10-minute cities and town framework that we developed, and the Interreg Europe Matchup project. And I'm happy for you to contact me if you need any further information with regard to any of these. Thank you for listening.